Hey everyone, Adam Burke here to give you a very quick update on what we've been doing at the Magic City over the past few months before we jump into our story for today. Because there are some exciting things coming. I've been busy working on a few more stories to wrap up the first season of our podcast, which will come to a close at the end of 2025. Next year, from January until June, Kirby Bennett and Jamie Wanzek will bring you season 2 of the podcast. And meanwhile, Magic City Studios is launching another project next year. It's called The Territories, and it's part of Colorado's statewide effort to commemorate history in 2026. You'll be hearing more about the territories very soon, and you can find out more on the project website, which is theterritories.net. And you can always check in with the Magic City at our website, themagiccity.org. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, too. Okay, without further ado, here is today's episode.
Okay, the reason I chose this location here, because this is on our property.
When we meet Raymond Gallegos at his family homestead, we are in a parking lot. It's a place called Windsurfer Beach at Navajo Lake State Park, just north of the border between Colorado and New Mexico.
And as you look straight down from this table here, about half a mile down, that's where our home was. Our property line comes straight up and goes back just before that ridge line there.
I noticed that when we first got out, you said, this is our property. You used the word is, not was.
It is. It still is. Belongs to the government now, but it's still, in my heart, still our property.
When the federal government flooded these river valleys in the 1960s, the Gallegos family had to leave and start over, like hundreds of other residents. But more than 60 years later, Raymond Gallegos can walk along this beach and see the landscape of his childhood in his mind's eye.
You could see a lot of cottonwoods out there, huge cottonwoods. There were trees up and through here, but along here was all farmland.
Today, the landscape has changed. As the water has come up and receded, the reservoir has left huge drifts of silt on these beaches.
My dad had about 30 acres of wheat fields, corn. Out here a little bit to the right was alfalfa fields and corn again.
But when Raymond Gallegos was a child, his family lived on this land for more than a decade.
We were extremely fortunate with our parents, my grandfather. We were dirt poor and didn't know it, money-wise, but we had everything else. It was just a fantastic life.
This is the story about a family and the land they lived on, and it starts with Raymond's grandfather, who was in his 60s during that time, Ramon Ezequiel Gallegos.
He was a big man. He always wore a big hat. Even at that age, he was a strong, vigorous man. Born and raised Catholic, went to Mass every Sunday he could, but he didn't push it on anyone. He didn't even push it on us kids.
Raymond's grandfather, Ramon, had grown up nearby in the town of Rosa, New Mexico. That's where he met Raymond's grandmother. Sometime in the 19-teens, Ramon got a mining job, and he moved to Silverton, Colorado with his wife and young family.
He would tell stories of working in the mines, that they were cold and damp and miserable in the mines when he was working around the Silverton or the Eureka area. Then later on, he worked as a sheep herder out in eastern Colorado. He did that for several years. He came back and then went to work for the railroad. And that's when he finally retired, was off the railroads.
Those mining years in Silverton were hard, especially in 1918.
The Spanish flu hit. And my grandmother passed away there. She was one of the very first ones to pass away from the flu.
Ramon didn't want his wife to be buried in a mass grave in Silverton. He wanted her body laid to rest in Rosa, New Mexico.
So my grandfather then brought her back and buried her down in Rosa, where she was born and where they were married. And then because he didn't have anyone to take care of the kids, they remained with my great-grandparents while he went off and worked.
Ramon returned to the mines in Silverton. His 4 kids stayed in Rosa. 6 years later, in 1924, the 2 older siblings died from diphtheria. It's hard to imagine the strain on Raymond's grandfather. First losing his wife, then 2 of his children, and then having to live away from the 2 other children who were still alive.
He worked his whole life. He was sending money back for his in-laws to take care of his kids. And by 1945, he retired and he had saved some money. And he said he always had his eye on this little valley here. And he bought the property here August of 1945 when he retired.
In August 1945, Raymond's father was away serving in the U.S. Army. Raymond's mother was living in Rosa, New Mexico, pregnant with her first child.
One day, my grandfather came up to my mother and said, "I'm going to take you somewhere. I'm going to show you something."
That day, Ramon took her to a spot on the edge of the Piedra River, just a few miles from the town of Arbolís.
And they came up here and he pointed down here, like where we're standing here. He said, "Look down there. See that house down there? It's going to be yours and Villarmino's." That was my dad's name. Yeah, I just bought this property.
The family settled in. Raymond's parents moved into the larger house. His grandfather lived in a smaller place nearby. After so much time living apart from his family, it must have been a kind of heaven for Raymond's grandfather, Ramon.
You see that little slope there? His house was pitched on the side right next to the river. Our house was only about 30 yards from the river. We had our own swimming hole right next to the house. The thing is, it was all river bottom land where we were. Pure river bottom land. You could grow anything on it. No fertilizer required, it would just grow. Potatoes, beans, green peas. We also had big raspberry bushes. We had apples, we had golden delicious, we had yellow delicious, the ones you make applesauce with, plum trees. It was everything.
Raymond remembers one time when a guy showed up at the house selling produce.
There was a man came by selling fruit or something like this, and he had a lot of green chili like they have here. And he said, "Oh, I've got the best chili you'll ever see." And my grandfather says, "Come with me." And he took him out to the garden and said, "Look at this." It was just long 10-inch chilies. And the guy said, "Oh." That was his pride, his garden. He loved his garden.
On a third of an acre, Raymond's grandfather grew everything the family needed.
My mom always called it, eran los tiempos de abundancia. Those were the times of abundance.
This was how Raymond Gallegos grew up until he was 13 years old. The family was part of a tight-knit community of Hispanic people whose ancestors had migrated to the area from deeper down in New Mexico. Almost all of the residents were Catholic. Most families spoke Spanish. Everyone lived off the land, and everyone helped each other survive from year to year. And then, in the late 1950s, community members up and down the Piedra and San Juan rivers started hearing about plans to dam the San Juan and flood the entire area with reservoir water.
That was about 1958, because about 1958 there were rumors that the government was going to build a dam and we'd probably be bought out. By 1959, we knew for sure.
1959 was when federal employees started knocking on people's doors.
A representative came to visit all of us and talk to us and tell us, okay, there's going to be assessors here looking at the property. And I remember them being there and talking to my parents, and then they would tell us that, okay, it looks like the government's going to buy this place.
Raymond remembers the news spreading quickly and community members being upset and alarmed. A lot of them felt powerless.
Relatives, friends, after church or something, people be talking. They'd all be talking about the same thing, about the guys that came to talk to them. And they weren't happy about it. Mom, a couple of times, would get a little emotional and start crying as she was talking about leaving. She said, what are we going to do? And my dad was always low-key and calm. He always kept it on an even keel. It's okay. We'll get by. We'll find something. We'll be all right. My grandfather's a very, very strong-willed man, but he knew it was coming. They're going to take your property. There's nothing we can do. They're going to buy it or they're going to take it. Make the best of it.
For the Gallegos family, making the best of it meant finding a new place to live and salvaging what they could from their land.
Once they did make the offer and sign the contract, we started tearing down things, tearing down the barn, saving the lumber, and so on.
Anything left would be bulldozed and then submerged underwater. The family decided to actually move their house to land they'd purchased with money they got from the federal government. When the day came to load the house onto the back of a truck, Raymond wasn't at home.
That day we had to go to school, which we fought. I wanted to be here.
When he got home from school, Raymond saw their house on the property for the last time.
I came back and Dad showed us the house. It was still sitting above the foundation where it had been lifted. And the house was totally intact. And they had backed the trailer up, so it was sitting on the truck trailer and it was ready to move.
The rising waters of Navajo Lake displaced the Gallegos family and hundreds of other people. 4 small towns were wiped off the map, too. Everyone had to take what federal assessors offered, whether they could afford to relocate or not. In some cases, multiple families owned a single parcel of land. In other cases, families didn't own their land at all. But the compensation, at whatever amount, could not account for the way that these tight-knit communities were pulled apart.
This is the thing that devastated them.
Historian Patricia Tharp published 2 books of oral histories on the communities displaced by Navajo Lake.
When they were evicted from the land that their fathers and grandfathers had settled on and told they had so many months to leave. Pack it up and find a new life. Can you imagine telling your grandmother, who'd lived maybe in the same house all her life, it's going to be gone? And your communities, like Rosa and Arbalese, are going to go underwater, so you can't go back to visit. I mean, that's a weird experience, not to be able to go back to where you were raised.
For people who grew up in the lost communities of Navajo Lake, many can never go back. Their homes and ranches are now at the bottom of a reservoir. But Raymond Gallegos is lucky in this way. He can still walk on his family homestead all the way down to the edge of the water, and he can stand there looking out onto a flat blue surface. He can step into that space between what's still here and what's been erased forever.
It was home. It was where I grew up. My kids will never be able to envision what it was. They can come out here and see the lake. The trees are gone. It's just water that covers the memories. But they surface.
When the water in the reservoir runs low, the memories literally surface. 2 years ago, water levels were way down, and Raymond found what was left of his grandfather's place. The old foundation looked like a footprint in the sand. Then Raymond and his brother walked down the beach and found the old community church.
That's where we went to church. I was an altar boy. Remember that in the church there? It was a small church. I still see some of the people that would have been there.
Raymond Gallegos is one of the few people still alive who remembers these lost communities. So when he steps into the old church, it is both gratifying and surreal, seeing and touching what's been lost for so many decades.
You're stepping on the ground that you lived in, that was supposedly gone forever, that you couldn't see again. And there you are. You're actually there. You're there. You're someplace that was supposed to be underwater, hidden, and you're just there.
This episode was produced by Magic City Studios in partnership with KSUT Public Radio. Additional research and reporting by Jamie Wanzek. Support for the Magic City of the Southwest comes from the Red Line Arts in Society program in Denver, Colorado, and the City of Durango's Lodgers Tax Fund. Special thanks to Raymond Gallegos and Patricia Tharp for their help with this episode. Thanks also go out to Tammy Graham, Ken Brott, and Mark Dugan at KSUT, and to Tommy Crosby and Catherine Wagner of the City of Durango's Lodgers Tax Program. For more information about this project, please visit our website, themagiccity.org. I'm Adam Burke. We'll see you next time for more stories of the Magic City.